just being cold. Okay. What I want to do, just to show you guys quickly, just a quick overview of the AssureSign feature that we will be implementing. We will be integrating with AssureSign. I don't think that's ready yet. I believe the developers are working on that. But what I want to show you, and especially for this session, more so the salespeople, so that you get a very quick general overview, won't be long, of how it works. And I'll also go through and show you a couple of examples of how the firms will use it. And but that's just one example of the type of document the firm may send out. Obviously, a lot of them will do retainers, a lot of them will do authorizations for medicals and that sort of thing. But just seeing one example is good enough. And then I'll also show you another example. The first one is pretty simple. It it anticipates, a pre-completed form where it already has the client's name and that sort of thing in it, which is the simplest one. The second one I'll show you is a little bit more complicated. Not that it is actually complicated, but a little bit more advanced, where we have some options where you can, on the fly, use it as a template, and for each client that you're sending out that document to, it gives you the option of having those pieces of information populate. It uses sort of the merge code kind of technology, so to speak, with those, and it will pop up and it will ask you those pieces of information. You fill them in, and again, it's maybe a handful, maybe 6 or 8. You fill them in, and it will populate the form that goes to the client, and so on. I anticipate that with the integration, what's going to happen, it's going to populate the form from SmartAdvocate itself, and then perhaps that will get sent to the client. But as it stands now, it's a little bit more manual. Okay, so I just wanted to give you, to set it up that way so you get an idea where I'm going. Now, the dashboard that you're seeing, you'll notice at the top it has 2 tabs up there. I'm sitting on the one that says template, and that's the second example I'm going to use, the one with the merge code kind of situation. And then the second one is where you see envelope. The envelope is probably the most simplest method. That's where, and again, because it's now manual, that's where, as you can see, there's a window right in the middle of the screen where you can drag and drop a file that you're going to send to your client for the client to sign. So I'm going to use that example first. And that one, as I mentioned, is where it's pre-filled, pre-populated. In other words, the form would have already had the client's name in it and so forth, and then you have basic pieces of information that the client will fill in, like the signature, date, and so forth. So I'm going to use that one first, just to give you a taste of what it looks like, and then I'll also show you the one that anticipates using a template. So here, then, of course, because it's manual, what the firm would do is they would drag, and I have a document sitting on my other screen, the Word document. So I'm going to drag it over there, as you can see, and drop it into that window. And what it does, it just shows you the contents of the document. Now, as I mentioned, you notice on this one, the client's name is already filled in, the address is already filled in, and so forth. I would anticipate that with the integration, that part will be filled in from SmartAdvocate. At least that's what I think. I haven't discussed it with Igor or anyone else yet, but I believe that that's the idea. And of course, the rest of the document is as you would see it. Now, you'll notice that the end of the document is where you have a field for a date and a field for the client's signature. Now, what I want to bring to your attention is the right-hand side of my screen is where you have the option where now you're going to actually add the client's name. That's where it says add signer, right? So this document is going to go to the client. It's going to have the client sign their signature in that area down there at the end, and of course the date field is there. But the date field, we're going to have AssureSign populate that date so that it has, and you have a couple of options with dates. You can have it populate the date, so it's the date it's signed. And also you can put the time in it as a timestamp as well. And as we go along, I'll show you a couple of other security features as well. So this one is very simple. The first thing you would need to do is just add signer on the right, as you see in red. So you'd add signer, and obviously here it's going to ask you for the signer's name, which obviously will be the client. So the client's name on this one, if I may cancel because I don't remember the name, I should have made a note of that, is Marguerite Spikanovit. I'm not going to try to type that name in properly. I'm sure you'll forgive me if I don't type it properly. Best way the firm would have done this is probably copy and paste. All right? As an example. Now, here's what's mandatory, the email address. So you need to put in the email address for the client, because this is how the client is going to get this document. It's going to get sent to them by email. Because I'm going to use my other email address. I use the Claude at SmartAdvocate here for AssureSign, and I didn't check ahead of time whether that will create an issue or a conflict, so that when the notification comes back that the document is signed. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my Gmail email address here as an example, and then log into that when it comes to me. Here, obviously, you would put in the client's email address where the document is going to. Here's an option, the security feature, one of the security features I just mentioned. You have the option of putting in a password. In other words, you could have it so that when it goes to the client is required to enter a password to access this document. It's one of the additional security features. Now, as you see here, it's set to optional. You can set it where it's mandatory, so that every document you send to your client, they're required to enter a password to access the document, sign it, and send it back. But here it's optional. We're just going to leave it off for now. All right. Now, and of course, in that situation, if you had put in the password requirement, you probably would communicate to the client in a separate email or something of that sort, what that password is, or something of that nature. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to save signer. So we're saving this information for this signer. It'll go through and it will save those changes to the case. I'm sorry, to the document. Now, there are other things that you probably notice right away that pop in on the right-hand side, on the merge pane. And this is where you can have additional options, some of which are obviously required, and some are optional that you can add to your document. One of them, obviously, is pretty much always going to be the signature. And you will notice that those little icons on the right kind of label what they are. They're called jot blocks. Jot blocks, meaning those are the little merges that you can insert into the document where you require that piece of information, so such as for the signature. So what you do is you grab that little jot block and drag it over to where that's going to be entered by the client, such as a signature. So what we're doing here, we drag this over to that area where you're going to have the client sign that signature. And of course, you have a bunch of options here. You can copy it, such as in a document where you may require signature in multiple locations. You could just copy that to the other location. You certainly can delete it. And of course, you have an edit feature where you can edit certain things with respect to the signature. Okay. In this example, we're also going to have the system insert the date and time. In other words, again, save the client as much entry as you possibly can. You make it as easy and as foolproof as you can. You certainly could leave it where the client would be required to enter a date. But in a situation like this, you probably don't want to do that, because then that would mean that the client would have to type the date in and so on. And here you simply could have add that jot block using date and have the system put the date in like so. All right. So we add that for the date, and in this one, let's go ahead and put the timestamp as well. Again, that's probably additional security and also a good indicator if there's an issue as to when the document was actually signed. All right, so there we go. We have the 3 chat blocks in this document that we want. All right. Now, as we said, this was pre-filled, so there's really nothing else that's required to be entered. By chance, before I move on, just in case you made a mistake and you want to edit something, you could also start over. There's a delete button on the top left. There's a red trash can there. If you hit that, it will just delete this form, and you could start over if you want to. And now that we've completed it and at least put in the chat box that we want, we're going to do review and send. That's the top right corner of your screen, and you'll see that tab up there. You hit review and send, and here it has information about what you're doing. You could also add additional recipients if you wanted to email this to someone else. And a feature that I think is cool, you could also add addendum. That's typically where you may want to send additional documents to the client, perhaps an explanation of what a retainer is, or something of that sort. You can also upload additional documents that the client will get as well. All right. Of course, we are good with this, so we're going to hit send, and we see that in the bottom right-hand corner. It will go through. It will compile the document, and it will send it. And then, of course, once it's done, it gives you, sort of an update or a status as to whether it's done, whether it was sent, and so forth. And here we have it. You can then go back to that envelope to view the details. You can send another envelope on the fly if you want to, or you can also save this form as a template. So those are the options you have. Now, we're assuming then that that email is sent, and then, of course, the client should have it. And then, of course, the client would go ahead, go to their email, and locate that document as sent. Let me take a look in mine to see if it actually went through. Okay, here we go. I'm going to drag this over so that you guys could see it. I'm going to drag my email over so that you guys could see it. What it looks like when it comes over. It's updated. I think I may have entered a wrong. Okay, here we go. I had a few in there. Okay, here we go. There we go. And I had a couple, and the one we did was the last one. Hopefully you guys can see it. Okay, so when the client click on that link that was in the email, this is where it would take them. And of course, it gives them, basic instructions. Of course, new document is available for you to sign, and some basic instructions. The client can preview the document before they sign it. They could ask questions. They have 3 options in general. Preview is always available. But they could ask questions, and they could refuse to sign it, and of course they can sign it. This little, what Matt called a burger, the menu that you see on the left, is where you could do either a question, where the client could send you a question, or could provide feedback. Okay, that's available there. And then, of course, you notice on the right-hand side, it's going to take the client to each of these 4 steps. So when the client would hit continue, it gives you the option to preview the document. You see that tab open now. And generally, I would imagine most clients would want to do that. And what it does, it just shows you the document where you can read it, etc., which is the way it was sent, of course, without the signature, etc. And, of course, they can print it out. You see the little print button right there in the corner in the right. They would need to check the box that says I have read and agreed to the terms. If they don't, you'll notice that the start signing is grayed out. So once they hit that, then it will give them the option of going ahead and signing it. And you notice it's now completed step 2. The welcome, step 1, and step 2 are now completed. Start signing.
They're not required to review the document or look at the document before they start signing?
They are. The checkbox that says I have read and agreed.
To the terms and conditions, but what about the document itself?
It doesn't. It doesn't. There's nothing. I know what you mean. There's some some organizations that they require you even to scroll to the bottom of the document before
Right.
it will make it available. Not here. Not here.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm not sure whether it has that feature, but I didn't see it anywhere. It probably does, but it probably would require some digging or finding out from them whether it has that feature. The only one that I know is mandatory is that checkbox.
Right.
In fact, the client doesn't even have to scroll through the whole thing. They could check the box, and then they're good to go. And of course, you do the start signing, which is where it takes the client to the actual signing. Now, the way I have this set up is the signature option when you send it out. It gives you the option. You probably saw 3. We'll see it again when we go back to look at the others. It gives you the client. It gives you actually 3 options with respect to the signature. 2 or 3. One is where they can just type the signature. So you type on the keyboard, and they just type it in the box. The other option, which is the one I left this on, the other option, it will allow you to use a mouse or a stylus or your finger, which is pretty cool, on a touch screen, such as if a client, pull this up on a touch screen or on the smartphone. Then it will let you use your finger to sign. And of course, this one will also allow you to use the mouse, which is what I'm going to do. Now, you can have that set where you make it fixed with respect to what type of signature. The way I had this, you could have it fixed, or you could have it left up to the client where the client chooses which one, like here. All right. So I'm going to use drawn with a mouse or touchpad or stylus, so you get a better feel for how it will go. And here I'm just going to use my mouse, right? And of course, the client would put in, sign it as they normally would, using the mouse as an example, like so.
My signature.
When my daughter was 9 months. If the client made a mistake or they didn't like it, it gives you a little X in the top right corner where they can clear it and re-sign if they want to. All right. We love this because we had comments from the penny section that is fantastic. So we're going to keep it. And then you do adopt signature. And now it gives the client one last chance to actually apply the signature. If they still are not satisfied and want to go back, they'll just do edit. All right. Now we're going to assume it's correct and we love it, so we do apply. And it puts the signature in where that signature is going to go. Here we want the date, so you'll put the date in, 10/24/2018, something like that. Continue, and now you're good.
I thought you said it automatically put the date in, so they couldn't change it. Did I misunderstand that?
The date that you the date that you put in, it automatically put the time, because I put the dot block for the time, but the date's an entry.
Okay.
At the time, I think it does a timestamp from your computer. Okay? And of course, that popped in, and there's the signature over there. You do finish, and the client then will get a chance to actually download the document right from their screen right here, which should come, there we go, should come up. So the client can download this now and, print a hard copy, keep a copy on their computer, or what they need to do. At this juncture, though, once the client hit finish, as we just did, that automatically would have sent an email back, and I should have gotten an email, I'll look in a second, back to the firm, letting them know that the client has signed the document, and the document is now back where you can come back to you, and now you can download it. Okay, but it gives you an email back, send an email back to the firm. So I'll open Outlook in a second, and we'll see what that looks like. And then, of course, because so far now this is manual, what the firm would do, of course, I guess until we get the integration, the firm would download it and then attach that document now to the client's file, as you normally would any document. All right, so let me see what we got back. Let's go to Outlook.
The ultimate goal is to automate that so it automatically goes back into the case?
Correct. So the document itself, the ultimate goal is for it to go from SmartAdvocate. You know, you generate the document as you normally do in SmartAdvocate. The integration should send that to the client, perhaps using the template option, which we're going to see next. And then, of course, when the client signs, it comes back, it sends you the email, and I believe that's going to be the process in which it gets uploaded to the client's file. So here's the email that I just got back, right, once that client had signed, right? And now in this email that came back to ostensibly the firm, right, this is coming back to you now, that from the client, here you have the view as well. So you do view like we did when the client did when the client viewed it, but now you are going to download it and then probably save it to your to the client's file. Here it is. Let me just open it. I think
Oh, it's zipped.
on the others. It's zipped, yeah, probably because of the size. And here it is. It popped in the other screen, and there it is. With the date, the time, and the signature. And of course, you know, with the manual entry, you then have to attach this to the file. But you know, basically that's what
So
happens.
it actually does automatically put the date in, but it also requires you to type the date.
Correct.
In other words, the date timestamp is there,
That's
but it
there,
also required you to
enter the
manually enter it.
Right.
So that may be just a question of figuring out how to do it.
Well, this date, you
You don't
notice that
need
it's
both.
different. Well, yeah.
Right,
Well,
that's
I
the
ask
one
you
that
to
you
put it
typed in.
correct. But this is the way the system put it in.
Right.
In the stamp. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Okay. Cool.